1612. Mount Aiheisen, Japan. Before dawn, while mist still wraps the mountains like a shroud, a young monk stands before a muddy pond. Cold penetrates to his bones. His teachers have told him something that sounds impossible. The most beautiful thing emerges from the filthiest place. In this moment, beneath the surface of murky water, something is happening. The lotus roots dig deep into the mud, the stem pushes upward, and the monk understands something that will change his life forever. Here's what nobody tells you about the true power of the mind. Chapter 1. Takumi's Awakening. Takumi is 17 when he arrives at Aiheiji, the Temple of Eternal Peace. The mountain monastery rises north of the ancient capital of Kyoto, hidden among cedars so old that some remember the birth of Buddhism in Japan. He comes with empty hands but a heavy mind. In his village, Takumi was known as the boy with the monkey mind. His thoughts jumped from branch to branch, never finding rest. While other children played, he sat and worried. What did others think of him? Would he be good enough? Why couldn't he be like his father, strong, certain, unshakable? The night before leaving home, his father calls him aside. "Takumi," the old man says, stroking the family's worn sword. "See this sword? It's made from iron, extracted from the blackest earth. Then it's heated in fire, purified of impurities, forged again and again. What was simply mud and iron becomes something that can cut stone." The boy nods but doesn't understand. "In the monastery," his father continues, "you will learn something similar, but this time the metal isn't iron. The metal is your own mind." Now, standing in the courtyard of Aiheiji under the pre-dawn silence, Takumi watches monks move like shadows, each step deliberate, each gesture precise. They sit in perfect lotus position in the meditation hall, backs absolutely straight, breathing quietly like morning mist. He envies them, envies their calm, but when he tries to imitate them, his mind explodes like a warring army. Thousands of thoughts attack simultaneously. Am I sitting right? Am I breathing right? Why does my leg hurt so much? I'm hungry. It's cold. How much longer? Why can't I just stop thinking? Days pass, weeks pass. Takumi fails at everything. Can't sit still for more than 5 minutes. Can't synchronize his breathing with counting. Can't quiet his mind. Frustration swallows him like a tsunami. One morning, before dawn, he sits alone in the garden. Tears of shame stream down his cheeks. "I'm useless," he whispers to the darkness. "Even the simplest thing," sitting quietly, "I can't do." Then the old voice speaks behind him. "Why do you cry, young one?" Takumi turns. There stands Hakuin Roshi, the monastery's abbot. His face is furrowed by years like old wood, but his eyes gleam with something Takumi cannot name. Kindness, wisdom, or perhaps simply understanding. "I cannot meditate, teacher," Takumi admits. "My mind is like a wild horse. The more I try to control it, the harder it bucks." Hakuin Roshi nods slowly, then points to the pond beside them, a shallow, muddy lake that Takumi has noticed every day but never truly paid attention to. "Do you see anything in this pond?" asks the teacher. Takumi looks. Mud. Murky water. Nothing more. Only mud. "Teacher, look again. Look deeper." And then Takumi sees it. Beneath the surface, a slender stem pushes upward. At its tip, still closed, wrapped in green, a bud, a lotus bud. "This lotus," says Hakuin Roshi quietly, "grows from this very mud you see. Every day its roots dig deeper into the filth. Every day the stem grows upward through murky water. And one day when it's ready, not before, it will bloom in absolute purity." The old man turns to Takumi, and in his voice sounds something ancient. "Your mind is this mud, Takumi. The thoughts that torture you, the fears, doubts, worries, that's the mud. But in the center of all this, there's something else. Something pure, something untouched. How do I find it?" asks Takumi. "You don't find it," the teacher answers. "You allow it to grow. Just as the lotus doesn't wrestle with the mud, It simply grows despite it, using it as nourishment. That night, Takumi cannot sleep. The teacher's words circle in his head. Allow it to grow. But how? Chapter 2. The Principle. Shikantaza. The next morning, before sunrise, Hakuin Roshi calls Takumi to his private quarters, a small room, empty of everything except one meditation cushion and the dry scent of incense. "Sit," says the teacher. Takumi sits in lotus position, legs crossed, right foot on left thigh, left foot on right thigh. His hands form the cosmic mudra, palms up, right holding left, thumbs touching lightly, creating an oval, spine erect, chin slightly tucked in, eyes half open, gaze downward at a 45-degree angle. "This," begins Hakuin Roshi, "is the lotus position, but the position is only the form. Now I will teach you the heart." He pauses, and in the silence Takumi hears only his breathing, deep and slow from the lower belly, from the hara, the place below the navel where, according to the teachers, true power resides. "In the Chinese mountains," continues Hakuin Roshi, "where our founder Dogen Zenji studied in the 1220s, he discovered something. His teacher, Rujing, told him 3 words that changed everything." "What words, teacher?" "Shinjin datsuraku. In Japanese, Shikantaza. In your language, just sit." Takumi waits. He's sure there must be more, but the teacher is silent. "Just sit," asks Takumi finally. "Just sit," confirms Hakuin Roshi, and there's a smile in his voice. "You don't sit to achieve something. You don't sit to become enlightened. You don't sit to calm the mind. You sit to sit. That's all." "But teacher," Takumi feels the frustration rising again. "I've tried to sit. It doesn't work. Thoughts come like..." "Let them come." Takumi falls silent. "Thoughts," says Hakuin Roshi, "are like clouds in the sky. They come, they go. The sky remains unchanged. The problem isn't that you have thoughts. The problem is that you climb onto the clouds and fly with them, forgetting that you are the sky." For the first time, something sparks in Takumi's awareness, a small light. "How do I return to the sky?" he asks. "The breath," answers the teacher. "Always the breath." And then Hakuin Roshi teaches him the method. First step, counting the breath. Inhale through the nose, deep into the hara. When the inhalation finishes, count 1. Exhale. When the exhalation finishes, count 2. Continue to 10, then start again from 1. "And if I get distracted?" asks Takumi. "When you notice you've been distracted, and you will be distracted hundreds of times, simply start again from 1. No judgment, no shame, just 1. It sounds so simple that Takumi is sure he's missing something. Second step, body posture. Body and mind are not separate, explains Hakuin Roshi. When the body is stable, the mind finds stability. When the body is upright, the mind becomes upright. That's why the lotus. He demonstrates the position again, a perfect triangle created by the legs, a base so stable that the mountain could shake and the meditator would remain unmoved. 3 points of contact, he says. Both knees and the tailbone. This is the mountain. You are the mountain. Third step, Fudoshin, the immovable mind. The samurai, speaks Hakuin Roshi, know of Fudoshin, the immovable mind. When the sword flies toward them, they don't freeze in fear, but neither do they move randomly. They are like the mountain, completely prepared, completely calm. In meditation, the same. Thoughts come like swords, fear, anger, desire, doubt. The immovable mind doesn't flee these swords, doesn't fight them, simply observes them passing. Imagine, says the teacher, that you sit on the bank of a river. Thoughts are the river. You don't jump into the river. You don't try to stop the river. You simply sit and watch it flow. Fourth step, Mushin, the mind of no mind. The most advanced practice, whispers Hakuin Roshi as if it's sacrilege to speak aloud, is Mushin, no mind. This doesn't mean having no thoughts. It means not clinging to thoughts. He closes his eyes. See the thought arise. See it exist. See it fade. Add nothing. Take nothing away. Simply see. Takumi feels like someone gazing into an abyss. So deep. So quiet. Teacher, he asks finally, how long will it take me to master this? Hakuin Roshi smiles. The smile of one who has heard this question thousands of times through the centuries. The lotus doesn't ask how long it will take to bloom. It simply grows. Each day, a little less mud. Each day, a little more light. You begin tomorrow at dawn, and every day after, not because you want to become enlightened, because this is the way. Chapter 3. The Psychology of the Lotus. Wisdom and Science. Hakuin Roshi calls Takumi to his study one evening after the evening Zazen. Sit, he says. It's time to understand not just how the practice works, but why. Ancient wisdom. The voices of masters. In the Book of Five Rings, begins Hakuin Roshi, the great swordsman Miyamoto Musashi writes, see that which must be seen. He speaks of battle, but he also speaks of the mind. Most people, continues the teacher, don't see their thoughts. They are their thoughts. It's like being a cloud that thinks it's the sky. Zazen teaches you to see. He quotes from the Lotus Sutra, the sacred text written 2,000 years ago. The lotus blooms in the mud but is not stained by the mud. This is not just a poetic metaphor. This is an exact description of the enlightenment process. Then, a quote from the founder of their tradition, Dogen Zenji. If you cannot find the truth right where you are, where do you expect to find it? The meaning, explains Hakuin Roshi, is this. Enlightenment is not somewhere else. It's not in the future. It's not in a better version of you. It's here, now, in this breath. The mud is here and now. The lotus is also here and now. They exist together. Modern science, the neurology of transformation. But, says Hakuin Roshi with a spark in his eyes, let's suppose you live in the future, centuries from now, and there people understand the brain as we understand the body. He describes Okazu, with unerring accuracy, as if he's seen it, how Zazen changes the brain. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain behind the forehead, he explains, controls attention, decisions, impulses. When you practice breath counting, this area becomes stronger, like a muscle you're training. Studies will show that monks who practice 10,000 hours of Zazen have thicker tissue in this area. Their capacity for focus has literally grown. The amygdala. There's a small part deep in the brain, continues Hakuin Roshi, that rings the alarm at fear, at threat, at everything unknown. In most people, this alarm rings constantly. Anxiety, worry, panic. These are the signals. But Zazen calms it. Studies will show that after 8 weeks of practice, this area decreases in volume. Not because you've become fearless, because you've learned not to react to every alarm bell. The default mode network. When your mind isn't doing anything specific, says the teacher, it wanders. Past, future, fantasies, fears. This is called the monkey mind, and there's a specific network in the brain that creates it. Zazen turns it off. Literally. Brain scans show that during deep meditation, this network quiets, and with repeated practice, it becomes less active even when you're not meditating. The result? Fewer thoughts about past and future, more presence in the present. Neuroplasticity. The brain, says Hakuin Roshi, is not stone. It's like clay. Every practice shapes it. Every thought creates a path. Every repetition makes the path deeper. This means, if you repeat panic, you become better at panic. If you repeat calm, you become better at calm. Zazen is daily practice of calm. The mechanism, why the lotus works. Here's the complete picture, synthesizes Hakuin Roshi. When you sit in Zazen, you do several things simultaneously. 1. The body in lotus position sends a signal to the nervous system. We are stable. We are safe. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the state of relaxation. 2. Counting the breath gives the mind focus. It cannot wander and count simultaneously. This trains attention. 3. Observing thoughts without reaction teaches you meta-awareness, the ability to see thoughts as thoughts, not as reality. 4. Repetition. Day after day changes the brain on a physical level. New connections, new pathways, new structure. The result, concludes the teacher, is what we call Fudoshin, the immovable mind. Not because thoughts stop, because you stop being a slave to thoughts. Contemporary application. In your time, says Hakuin Roshi to an invisible audience, life will be much faster than ours. You'll have machines that think, messages that arrive instantly, constant distraction. But the human mind doesn't change. The fears are the same, the desires are the same, suffering is the same. The Lotus Method works on the mountain. It will work in the city, because the principle is universal. From mud, purity. From distraction, focus. From chaos, peace. Chapter 4. The Transformation. 1 year after beginning practice, Takumi is unrecognizable. Physically, he looks the same. Perhaps a bit thinner, more upright, with clearer eyes, but something deep within has changed fundamentally. The test comes in the form of unexpected news. The test. News from home. The young monk arrives with the message right after morning Zazen. Takumi, there's a letter from your village. Your father is gravely ill, perhaps dying. The family calls you to return. A year ago, this news would have destroyed him. Panic would have seized him like a tsunami. Guilt. Why did he leave? Fear. What will he do without his father? Doubt. Was he right to come to the monastery? But now, something different happens. Takumi feels the emotions arise. They're there, the fear, the sadness, the worry. But they're like clouds in the sky of his consciousness. He sees them, feels them, but isn't overwhelmed by them. Breathe. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, he tells the boy. I will seek the teacher's permission to depart. Then he goes to the garden, sits by the lotus pond, and simply breathes. His mind is calm as the water's surface after a storm. The emotions are there, but deep. They don't control his actions. Hakuin Roshi finds him there. I heard, says the old man. Yes, teacher. And? Takumi looks at the lotus, now in full bloom, absolutely pure despite the mud below. I will go to my father, he says. I will do what must be done. But, he pauses, searching for the right words. But you're no longer in the mud, finishes Hakuin Roshi for him. Your roots are there, but the flower is above the surface. Yes, teacher. Exactly so. This is Zanshin, explains the old man. Continuing awareness. The samurai know it. After the strike, awareness doesn't stop. After the battle, focus doesn't scatter. Even in the midst of chaos, there's a center of silence. You found that center. The moment of truth. Takumi travels 3 days to his village. The journey is difficult. Mountains, rivers, unfamiliar forests, but his mind remains stable. When he arrives, he finds his father in bed, pale and weak. The old samurai can barely breathe. Takumi, he whispers, you've returned. Yes, father. Did you learn it? Did you learn how iron becomes sword? Takumi smiles through tears. I learned it, father. Mud becomes lotus. Mind becomes mirror. His father nods. There's understanding in his eyes. Good, good. Then, after long silence, I have no fear, you know, of death, because I see it in you, the calm. If my son can find peace in such a chaotic mind as you said you had, then death is just another transition, just another mud the roots pass through. This is the greatest praise Takumi has ever received. His father dies that night, peacefully, without struggle, and Takumi, standing beside the body, sits in Zazen, breathes, watches grief come in waves, allows it to be there, doesn't cling, doesn't push away, simply sits with suffering like a lotus rooted in mud. The return. When he returns to the monastery a week later, Hakuin Roshi calls him for tea. "Tell me," says the teacher. Takumi tells everything. The journey, the death, the grief, but also the calm. The ability to be fully there, fully alive, even in the midst of loss. "See," says Hakuin Roshi, pointing to the garden, "the lotuses have begun to wither. Winter is coming. Soon the petals will fall, the flowers will disappear, the mud will freeze. But in spring," he continues, "the seeds, hidden under the water, will sprout again. New growth, new flowers. The cycle continues. This is the essence of the Lotus Method," he says. "You don't avoid the mud. You understand that mud is part of the cycle. Suffering is part of growth. Death is part of life. And when you understand this, truly understand, you stop fighting. You begin to flow." He pours more tea. "You have bloomed, Takumi. This test proved it. But blooming is not the end. It's simply the next stage. Now practice continues, not to achieve something, simply because this is the way." Chapter 5. Deepening. The Daily Alchemy. The following years, Takumi enters a new level of practice. This is no longer struggle, not even effort. Zazen becomes as natural as breathing. Every day, identical. Every day different. Because the outer form is the same, but the inner experience continuously deepens. Integration into work. One day, Hakuin Roshi comes to the garden where Takumi is watering. "Tell me," says the teacher, "what are you doing right now?" "Watering the garden, teacher." "Only that?" Takumi pauses. His breathing continues. Inhalation from hara, exhalation into earth. "I'm practicing non-attachment," he says finally. "I see the plant needs water. I give it water. I don't expect gratitude from the plant. I don't pride myself on helping. Simply, water flows from bucket to earth. And," prompts the teacher, "and I see the ego trying to slip in. I'm doing good. I'm a good monk. But I see these thoughts arise, and I let them disappear, like clouds." Hakuin Roshi smiles. "This is Ichigo Ichie," he says. "One meeting, one time. This moment, you, the water, the plant, will never happen again. Exactly this way. So you do it with full attention, full presence. This is the true lotus practice. Not just on the meditation cushion, everywhere. Deepening of Mushin. Years pass. Takumi becomes not just a master of Zazen, but a master of life as Zazen. One day, Hakuin Roshi sends him into the forest with an instruction. "Find the word that describes your practice now." Takumi walks for hours, thinks, meditates, then returns. "Silence?" asks the teacher. "No. Silence is just absence of sound." "Emptiness?" "No. Emptiness sounds like nothing." "Then what?" Takumi closes his eyes. "Fullness," he says. "When I'm in Mushin, no mind. It's not empty. It's full. Full of everything. Full of the present." Hakuin Roshi nods slowly, his eyes gleaming. "Now you understand the great paradox. The lotus is empty of own nature. It's made of mud, water, sun. But precisely because of this, it's full of everything. Your mind is the same, empty of permanent, separate I, full of the entire universe." Practices for deepening. Through the years, Takumi learns additional practices, each deepening the Lotus Method. Kohan Rizu, the two mirrors practice. Imagine your mind as a pure mirror. Whatever appears before it reflects. When the object is removed, no trace remains. Susakukan, observation of breath. Without changing it, simply see it. When is it shallow? When deep? When in the chest? When in the belly? See without judging, Koan practice. Hakuin Roshi gives him his first koan. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Not a logical problem. Intense digging beneath logic toward the truth beyond words. Tonglen. Breathing suffering in, sending compassion out. When meeting someone in pain, breathe their pain in not as possession, but as acknowledgement. Exhale peace and calm as a gift. The absence of expectation. Perhaps the deepest change in Takumi is this. He stops expecting. Doesn't expect to become enlightened. Doesn't expect to feel something special in Zazen. Doesn't expect gratitude for his kindness. Doesn't even expect to progress in practice. Simply sits, simply lives, simply is. And in this release of expectation, paradoxically, everything comes. Peace, clarity, compassion. Not because he chases them, because he stops running from them. The lotus, Hakuin Roshi tells him one evening, doesn't expect to bloom, doesn't strive toward blooming. It simply grows, day after day, without knowing what color its petals will be. And when the time comes, it blooms, without effort, without anxiety. You are the same. Chapter 6. The final confrontation, the death of ego. 20 years after arriving at the monastery, Takumi faces his final test. It doesn't come as you'd expect, not an external battle, not a physical challenge. It's something more subtle, deeper, more dangerous. Morning Zazen, like thousands of others. Takumi sits in lotus, breathes, consciousness calm as an autumn lake, and then a thought, different from the rest. Not fear, not desire, something more insidious. I am enlightened. Quiet, almost innocent, but the sweetness in it, oh, how sweet. See how calm I am. See how focused. So many years of practice. I've finally achieved it. I'm special. I'm different from others. The ego, dead as it seemed to be, wasn't dead. It was sleeping, and now it awakens in its most cunning form, spiritual ego. Takumi feels the temptation to cling to the thought, to declare himself victor, to seek recognition. But also, and this is essential, he sees the thought. Sees it arise, sees it tempt, sees the danger in it. Breathe. 1, 2, 3. Then, without drama, lets the thought dissolve, like a bubble on water's surface. But the battle isn't over. Weeks of testing. The following weeks, the thought returns again and again, each time with a new disguise. You're the best student. The teacher is more impressed with you than with others. You should become a teacher, help others. Your practice is so deep. Each thought, truth mixed with poison. Yes, practice is deep. But is there your practice? Or is there just practice happening? Takumi is in crisis. Not external, internal. One day, he can't anymore. Goes to Hakuin Roshi. Teacher, he says, I think I'm lost. Tell me. Takumi shares everything. The thoughts of enlightenment, the ego that slipped back in, the shame that after so many years, he still falls into the same traps. Hakuin Roshi listens without expression. Then, long silence. Finally, he speaks. Takumi, why do you think these thoughts are a problem? Because they're ego, attachment, illusion of separation. Yes, and you. What do you do with them? I observe them. I release them. Exactly so. Then where is the problem? Takumi is silent. The lotus, says Hakuin Roshi, never leaves the mud. The roots are always in the mud, but the flower is not stained by it. The ego is the mud. It will always be there, will always appear. If you expect a day when ego disappears forever, you'll wait forever. Practice is not to kill the ego. Practice is to see the ego so clearly that it cannot deceive you. Don't you see, Takumi? Even now in this problem, you're practicing, seeing the ego, observing it, releasing it. This is the practice. Not preparation for some higher practice. This is it. The final realization. That night, Takumi cannot sleep, sits in the garden under the stars. The lotuses have withered with autumn's arrival, but the roots beneath the water prepare new growth. And then he sees it. There is no final state. No moment when you can say, done, I've reached the goal. There's only the way that continues forever, through birth, death, rebirth, through blooming, withering, new blooming. And in this understanding, liberation. Not liberation from the way, liberation in the way. He laughs, a deep, echoing laugh that comes from the belly. How absurd, how perfectly absurd. He'd been seeking enlightenment as an endpoint. But enlightenment isn't a point. It's the journey itself. Every step, every breath, every falling and rising. The lotus doesn't bloom once and then stop. It blooms, withers, and blooms again, forever. The lesson for you. Listen to you. Takumi was real. Hakuin Roshi was real. The lotus is real. And the mud in your life, the distraction, fears, worries, is also real. But here's the secret I invite you to embrace. The mud is not the enemy. The mud is the soil. Without it, no growth. Without suffering, no wisdom. Without darkness, no light. The Lotus Method is simple. Sit. Lotus position. Spine erect. Breathe. From the hara, count to 10. Observe. Thoughts come, thoughts go. Repeat. Every day. Without expectation. It will be difficult. It will be painful. The mind will resist. But one day, maybe after a month, maybe after 10 years, you'll notice. The mud has settled. The water is clear. And there, breaking the surface, something pure blooms. This isn't you becoming better. This is you becoming real. Walk with presence. Live with purpose. Bloom from the mud.